booster ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LaTB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back to the second part of the show.
To the two.
The number deuce.
Part deux.
This may not be a staple for us. We may just
B.
still be
The B
working
side.
out the B half or the better half of the card. I don't know if it's the better half. I really like that Strickland Zaleski fight. I think that I'm going to be... No, I will still watch the rest of the fight.
It's pretty close to a better half. But this is the main half of the card.
This is the main. This is going to be where there's more betting lines. They've been perfected. And these, again...
If you have no
lines,
fucking idea what we're talking about right now, then check out the episode before this, which is the prelims to 224. Otherwise, this is kind of the main card of 224, but we didn't put two cards on our last show.
So we're still going to be in the prelims for a split second, and that's going to be with Baby Albini returning.
And if you are just
Actually,
listening to this, and this is the first one you've heard since no fights, then you're missing an episode.
it'll be categorized like A and B or 1 and 2.
Yeah,
it'll
right.
Be easy. It'll
But
be
if you're
easy.
watching this first and you're confused,
That's why.
this is why.
That's
Just
why.
wanted to let somebody know.
So Olenek is also returning in the UFC with a 55-11-1 record against Albini's 14-3 record. Albini being younger by 13 years, really one of the fastest hype flops that we've had in a long, long time. The most notable part about Albini's last fight was the diaper that he simulated his shorts to look like. I loved it. I really want to see what he's going to wear next. But before that, you need to be in shape, because Albini talked about for that last Arlovsky fight how the $50,000, all of a sudden he was eating a bunch and he fell back into why he got into fighting in the first place, to keep the weight off. He's a guy who struggles with that weight cut. It's something we need to watch out for with Albini. And Arlovsky is one of those gatekeepers in the division, and Albini did not pass that test. So he did beat Timothy Johnson randomly. This is going to be in Brazil. Olenek, with his massive record at 40 years old, we know what we're getting with him. Ground specialist. Albini does like to keep it standing, use that Muay Thai to win fights. Okay, takedown defense. Olenek has good takedowns. On the ground, very hip heavy. Transitionally has very unique chokes. Does he have one of the only... He has a neck crank submission over... who is it? Freaking Ronda's husband, Travis Brown. And then he has the only
King
Ezekiel
Travis
choke,
Brown.
only Ezekiel choke ever in the UFC.
Does Travis Brown have a black guy's name?
Yes. But he's Samoan, so it's kind of the same. Minorities. So
Minorities. You know. The Puerto Rican guy down my street, Travis Brown, doesn't quite think... Not minorities. He's Samoan. It's kind of like he's black.
There's a light.
I was just thinking... Never mind. I never withhold anything from you guys, but I had to that one.
Olenek last lost to Curtis Blades in one of the squirreliest TKOs. We almost had a disqualification happen due to... It was a weird kind of kick or head strike. Olenek played the game, was trying to win via doctor stoppage or disqualification, ended up losing the rightful TKO. He was going to end up losing that fight anyways. That is a very different fight against Blades, Olenek, to Albini, because Albini is like the Victor Pesta, where Pesta should be able to beat with youth Olenek, but Olenek's savvy old man strength and unique Ezekiel choke got him. Albini on the ground, we don't know his ground game at all. He hasn't shown it one bit in the Arlovsky or Timothy Johnson fight. He just showed he has okay takedown defense, but once he's on the ground, Olenek may have a straight, direct way to finish this fight, and Albini hasn't proven shit. He shipped his diaper the last time we saw him out there, and his nut,
He made it all the way, though, with Andrei Arlovsky.
Good point.
Which is a pretty heavy hitter in the division, so he has a good chin.
Good point. This is a tough one. I just didn't like the way Olenek was trying to get out of there. I thought he would look a little bit slower even in that Blades fight. I think Albini is going to bounce back, but I'm not going to put him heavy everywhere. I do think the finish can come for either fighter. There might be a prop in the Olenek submission. Just throwing that out there. I'm going with Albini decision. Albini decision right now. Woo!
I always go with Olenek. I always pick him as a weird underdog.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can pick him this time. I do think Albini will. He knows he has to work on things. He was in there with the champion. Olenek's an underrated guy. Albini, his body has nowhere to go but up. His skill set has nowhere to go but up. Everything that we saw in his last few fights have nowhere to go but up. Whereas and this other weird thing happened with Ngannou. What's his Olenek?
Especially in this division.
Is it what's?
Oh no! I know who you're saying. No, there's Misha Shurganov. He was also
no.
Oh,
Who you picked Misha and I picked, but then he fought DC.
Oh, no time, cousin.
Volkan Ozdemir.
Ozdemir.
So it's so close to this guy's freaking name that I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not
Ozdemir. I think Ozdemir, Ngannou, and Albini all were riding a ticket on the same hype train. And they were all found out about the same time. But if you watch what the UFC did with all three guys, fed them to champions. No three of those guys should have moved up so quick. No three.
Right.
So Olenek is underrated, but I gotta think Junior Albini is getting better. This should not be heavy favorited. This is actually, in my opinion, the fight you stay away from over the first fight of the night. This is the fight that you stay away from because Olenek could F it, or when Albini gets better, it's going to be in a huge leap and bounds because it's going to be in his cardio and his physique and athleticism. He already has the skill set. It's this other part when it leaps up and catches up. Olenek is the stifler everywhere. He makes for boring fights, but because I think he's a lot stronger. I think everyone underestimates him. He's kind of good everywhere, and he's fucking 40. I'm going Albini decision. I've said my piece on it.
So Albini being 8,200 against Olenek's 8,000 even. I am going to be tentative on either one of these guys, but I do think that they could be on that winning card for DraftKings. Because it could be a finish either way. It's a finish either way.
I think I see Albini more likely to get the finish with the knockout. Olenek doesn't have the power. I think Olenek doesn't have as much power as Andre on that clean shot, and Andre landed a bunch of clean shots, especially to that soft body that I thought would let go. The other thing, Olenek is small, and so all the takedown and stuff, and like you were saying, the hip control, I don't know if he's going to be able to get in on Albini like that. I got Albini decision right now. But Olenek is a guy that if somebody can, and Albini had one round of cardio before, I'm just hoping for that he's getting better.
I think
I still have my ticket on the Ozdemir, Albini, and Ngannou hype trains. I still have my ticket. I just think they were fed to legends, and that's it. That's what I say about it. Albini decision, but stay away.
Getting back to the middleweights, 185 pounds, we have Cesar Fiera versus Carl Robertson. Fiera is a little bit more long-standing in the UFC, coming in with a 12-6 record to this fight, last beating Nate Marquardt in a split decision 5 months ago, but last losing to Elias Theodora in a decision. Theodora showed what he does best there, spammed a bunch of kicks and stopped any type of ground game because Fiera is a ground specialist. We definitely know he wants to get it there. Ferreira's chin, though, has been suspect for a while. His head movement has looked so much better as of late, though. He's really understood how to be able to duck the initial first two shots to get those double leg and single leg entries and get it to the ground. With that, Carl Robinson is a young...
Speaking of head movement,
Every time I say head movement, I think she's going to bring up Edmund. Every time.
But I wasn't going to that time. I was going to say that I watched in slow motion over and over again, like slow motion, like where I actually took the video, copied it, and then slowed it down again. The slow of how fast, I have to give credit where credit is due. Colby Covington's head movement when Verdum threw that boomerang at his friggin' head is unbelievably fast. It is unbelievable how quick it is, dead on with his head, and he moves his head and then his neck and then hand over the face in like as quick of a time. Verdum's a bigger. I'm impressed. I was impressed. Like I had to watch it so like just from Verdum, like how much his armed move and how much movement and action Colby gave. I'm like, Colby. You might got me interested in that fight against Dos Anjos. Okay, Sierra Robertson.
Other than Colby, though, Robertson is coming in with a perfect 6-0 record out of New Jersey. Definitely a Killer Bee Combat Sports veteran. Ton of hype on this young man. He's actually came into the UFC against Darren Stewart, who is very low level and no longer in the UFC. He submitted him 5 months ago via rear naked choke, but pretty much dominated that fight up until that point. Stewart, again, not being that high caliber. Robertson has good takedown defense. He makes his money standing and striking. Good Muay Thai specialist, good knees on the inside, good clinch, plum control in there. And then, again, he has good takedown defense even when he uses those. He tends to be a sniper and has power in many of his limbs. Robertson is a favorite here at minus 150, and it could be a very grinding fight. The chin is what I think everybody's betting against in Cesar Fiera, but Fiera has made very unique, interesting changes in his entire game, and I do think Robertson hasn't been tested in those later rounds in many of his fights in his young career as well. So this has a sneaky underdog play. I think this is definitely the underdog or pass. I am going to stick with Robertson because I do think that he's going to be able to keep it standing long enough to finally land because he is that level of a striker. But Ferreira has avenues to win this fight, especially with the hometown cooking right around the corner. If this goes to decision, I could see Ferreira easily getting a split here. If not, even dominating. Again, we haven't seen tons of the ground game against elite guys like Ferreira. Just saying, back off the Robertson. I'm on that hype, but Ferreira's a real challenge. How do you feel it goes down by the end of the night?
I actually have the underdog here, and I'm surprised he's the underdog.
Yep.
Just with the amount of experience he has in the UFC, Fiera tends to make a boring fight. It's because
you can't get hit in the head. He knows it as much as anybody.
And he hasn't. And his last, Nate Marquardt has more fights under his belt than all Carl Robertson's record. That's just a little weird.
Little fun fact.
Fiera's last fight. But he's also the Elias fight. Some people said that could have gone either way. That was a boring fight. The Hermason submission. I like Jack Hermason. Anthony Smith decision. He's been fighting a lot in the last 2 years. It's in Brazil. I like Carl Robertson. This almost disappoints me a little bit that the UFC gave Carl Robertson Fiera right now. I think it's going to go Fiera decision. I think this is going to be this is going to be the fight that makes Carl Robertson a superstar. Not because he's going to be let me rephrase it. This is going to be the fight that gives Carl Robertson the skill set he needs to become the superstar that he will be. I think you need the loss.
High praise.
I really like Carl Robertson.
Yeah,
I get everything
great.
Everyone's saying. It's just too much too soon to a guy that never was on a hype train, so there's no real fan fear behind him of like, wow, Fiera is a slayer. I think Fiera, he's not a finisher. He's not a scary finisher, but it's guys that aren't finishers, sometimes a lot harder to go 3 rounds and finish a fight in a minute.
It's a good point. And we know he's young in his career because he's only had 6 fights. He has had other pro kickboxing fights and stuff, but 15 minutes, 25 minutes in the cage does change things after a while. Anything left with that with that last fight? Sorry.
Nope, I got Fiera decision.
I got Robertson TKO. round number 2. Carl Robertson is 8,600 on DraftKings against Ferreira's 7,600. I see where Lesbo's going with this. I'm not going to put Robertson everywhere. This isn't a guarantee by any means. So I'm going to play him lightly. I could throw Ferreira on a couple cards there. I'm okay with that. I think
Ferreira's not a chinny guy.
He's got stunned a few times where it's like, whoa, but he's really, again, good at movement. To the main event we go. You're going to have to pay out a cool $65 if you want to catch this bitch in HD out of Brazil. We're having a Legends fight. This is a retirement. Both fighters have said that they are going to retire.
Maybe it won't be as much when it's
this
ESPN Plus. You know,
It'll probably be more.
ESPN Plus is $4.99 a month.
Oh.
Think about it, though, whether you're cable free or not, $4.99 a month if you know you're going to get 15 fights in a year. It's not bad.
Ugh.
It's a card you're paying $5 a card, essentially.
Yep.
It's not bad.
It's
not bad at all. If you invite a couple friends over and they all bring you $1.25.
Boom, then you're good. Then you gotta have a lot of friends though.
It sucks. I'm willing to support and pay the extra money toward the UFC if I knew they were taking better care of their fighters. But it sure does make it easier to rip a friggin', promotion and watch it on some kind of illegal format. Not that I would, but I understand how some people, like OJ writing that book, if I did it, how some people say, oh, we're just getting into the main card. All right.
So, two people that would really...
Speaking of killers, let's talk about Lyoto Machida.
Two people that would definitely benefit from any of these unionized...
Speaking of killers and steroid users, let's talk about Machida and Belfort.
These are both guys that have popped, but as I was saying, they both are going to retire. If they had benefits for the rest of their lives through their union, I bet you they both would be like, yeah, my hands have both been broken. I've had surgeries on both knees and ankles, and every fighter has an exact same story. That's why they were on steroids a lot of the time. So, both of these veteran fighters at 39 years old for Lyoto Machida against the 41, Vitor Belfort. 23 fights and 8 for Lyoto Machida against the 26 and 13, Vitor Belfort. Belfort, one of the longest lineages, was the 19 years old, was the first champion, youngest champion for a long time, and then Lyoto Machida came in, knocked everybody out. There was an era Machida that never really came. John Jones fixed that real quick, but both of these guys are what you're gonna get with both of them. We got to see how much the TRT is helping either one of these fighters on these embeddeds. We got to see what they look like. To me, Lyoto Machida has looked better than Vitor Belfort in this last run. He just hasn't faded as dramatically. He tends to be the craftier striker in there, still taking more damage than I would like to see for Lyoto Machida, but he's still a very dangerous fighter. He's lost 3 in a row, but last won his Andres fight in a split decision, and he was a big underdog there, and he really showed that he, even with the damage, he's still willing to fight and wants to compete in there. And Vitor Belfort, coming off of essentially 3 losses and a win, beating Nate Marquardt in a decision that was a very stalemate-ish of a match. What we saw in those 2 last fights, I think just Machida did look a little bit better, and he can throw anything Vitor Belfort can, if not more so. And I've always loved the trips and the clinch of Lyoto Machida. It's been very, very sneaky. I hate all of his sumo bullshit talk, but other than that, Lyoto Machida should be the heavy favorite, and he is at a -275. How do you feel this one goes down? I got Machida TKO round number 1.
Wow. I probably have the moderate underdog.
Whoa! And the TNT's got you.
I'm going to be honest. A decision win over Nate Marquardt is more impressive to me than a decision win over Eric Anders.
Wow. Wow. Bold statement.
So, and I'm also going to say I totally disagree with you, even though I think Belfort's looked a little wobbly in spots.
Uh-huh.
No more wobblier than Machida has. He's just a little older, so it's 2 years longer. We're going to see the same thing happen to Machida. This is a good fight for Brazil. I wonder if these guys are going to go to decision. And it's just going to be, they're going to, like, have they both learned from the last few knockouts to stay on the outside, use your game, use your takedowns, use your this, use your that. And if you look, they both have their last fights or wins by decision because they did these things. They played a different game than the normal game that we saw them get knocked out. So the question is, what are they going to do? If they stay far away from each other, if that's Machida's game plan, I still think Vitor has more power than Eric Anders. More power than Lyoto Machida.
Mm-hmm.
So
in Brazil, both of these guys are legends, so it's going to be interesting to me, the reaction of the crowd, because I think they're going to clap either way, especially with both of them retiring. But what I think is going to be the biggest factor for Machida is that just looks a bit more explosive, and his style tends to be that explosive style, but where Vitor really relied on the steroids early on in life, Machida had it until much, much later in his career, supposedly. I guess. Supposedly. Well, those urine drinks really flush out the system. If you don't remember watching those on the embeddeds years ago. Machida hasn't done it since because I got a little bit of flack for it. But I think the blitzes that Machida can put together are going to put Vitor night. But with...
Have they fought before?
They have not. So this is going to be a really fun one.
Who's this a more natural weight class for? Didn't both guys...
Vitor Belfort, I believe.
Because did Machida used to be a heavier fighter? Or a lighter fighter?
He's fought everywhere. I think he's fought lighter and heavier. Machida...
If they're juiced, and they're allowed to be juiced, don't you think Vitor is...
Yes, if they're juiced. We got to watch the weigh-ins.
Anyways, you want to hear him? I got Belfort KO round 1.
For 7,300, you're making a hell of a play on Vitor Belfort.
I'm not going to... I'll put it on like 25% of my cards.
Whoa.
I'm not that positive about it.
So, Lyoto Machida, 8,900. So, I'm not going to put Machida everywhere, but I do think that if there is a finish, for me, it feels more like Machida. You have a good play. I might put Belfort on 1 or 2. A couple of those cards just...
in my opinion, both guys could make either of your night go...
Hopefully that's good. A good noise.
No. No, it's not.
So, to the 135
I'm so crazy. Why do
pounds.
I can't even believe I said Vitor Belfort. I just have no faith in Lyoto Machida anymore.
In either of the fighters.
I have so little faith that I act like his names has all the vowels in his name is O's. So it's Lyoto Mochito.
Oh.
Lyoto Mochito.
No.
You know what? I'm disappointed too. Everyone keeps... I don't like Anderson Silva's name in the GOAT conversation anymore.
I kind of can agree with that, but then does that put JBJ in there?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. He's got to be in there. Oh.
There might have to be the separate category.
Yes. Asterisks. Definitely asterisks. But getting back to these asterisks, we have John Lineker versus Brian Kelleher at 135 pounds.
Boom!
I have a feeling I know where Lesbo might be going with this, but it is an uphill battle for Boom Kelleher in Orlando. He treated us to a Barao show. He was our underdog here at LaTB for all the right reasons, and it came out to be right. Boom showed up better than Henan Barao or the ghost of Henan Barao. John Lineker is definitely here to stay with a 30-8 record. This is weight cut issue city. We got to watch most of these fighters for the weight cut. John Lineker still being one of those fighters, even though he's already moved up a weight class. We know Lineker comes in with that berserker style, bites on his mouthpiece, throws to the body and head evenly, which is very deceptive. I think people are very much underrate the body attack that John Lineker actually has, mixed in with leg kicks. With all that, Brian Kelleher is trademark tough. In the third round, can take a beating and keep on punching. I do give the power advantage a bit more to Lineker just because he has sat more people down generally than Kelleher. And even though Barao was out of it, he was never off of his feet really, where it kind of showed where Kelleher's power stops a bit more. With that, I want to root for Kelleher. I think on the ground, there's been better wrestlers that haven't been able to get Lineker down, so Kelleher's going to have a tough time, and it's going to stay striking traditionally how Lineker tries to keep it. And I do see this being a decision. I don't see it as big of a blowout as most people have it. Lineker is a minus 230 favorite, and I think it should be more in the like 170, 160 range. I think this does go all 3 rounds. I'm going to give it to John Lineker. I wish I could give it a Boom, but I do see an uphill battle all the way around. Who do you got in this fight by the end of it?
I love John Lineker. He is a guy, though, in the octagon, the amount of battles that he's seen and the way he's looked to me lately seems like a guy that should be getting into his closing in on his middle 30s. I cannot believe he's 27 years old. And then the other way, the other thing is Boom. I can't believe he's the older guy here. I can't believe it. You would not guess it in the octagon. Even the way Boom's body looked from the first fight to the next fight in the UFC. I felt like Hennon was out a few times on his feet. I felt like there was a few times in the fight they could have called that fight when we were watching it. John Lineker does have fast hands. He outworked Marlon Cheeto everywhere. I think Brian Kelleher beats Cheeto right now. TJ Dillashaw losing by a decision to TJ, that's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that sticks out in my head heavy. John Dotson, a split, kind of the ghost of John Dotson. That's where it first started to be the fade out for me. Michael McDonald and Rob Font, and he's done all this. John Lineker is a weird, like, fourth, like he's a far away fourth or something. Didn't he just move up too in weight? Isn't that what happened?
He did a little while ago, but it didn't matter. He still didn't make weight. At 135. He was a 125er.
I don't think he has the same power. I don't think it transfers the same at 135 as it does for 125. I think Boom does have power. And I think it's going to be the most power that John Lineker has felt yet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wowza.
I think TJ's a puncher. But I think TJ has busy feet and he relies a little bit on everything and more on the takedowns for John Lineker. It was takedown after takedown after takedown.
I do feel like I saw like the 3 and 4 punch combinations by TJ landing and Lineker just eating them all and throwing to the body.
Yeah, and he's like Jessica Andrade.
Yes,
he just keeps coming forward.
Exactly.
Ooh, feels good.
Andrade is like him, I feel like.
I just feel like stylistically here, Brian Kelleher is still dangerous on the ground. I think he loses a little bit in reach advantage here to John Lineker. I think John Lineker has a good style. Brian Kelleher is just forward pressure. He can get hurt. He has a good chin. And I think he can snatch up that little neck and submit him in round 3.
Wow.
I got Boom. Big, huge underdog. When I put Boom on one of my cards last night on DraftKings, I could pick the whole top roster.
Yeah. Let's see. Kelleher is a plus 180 on the betting lines. DraftKings, 9,000 even for Lineker against the 7,200 for Brian Kelleher. I could sprinkle Kelleher in a few of those. I could put Lineker in a couple of those.
I will do the same. It'll honestly probably 50-50 on my cards just for affordability.
Because it's a high output for Lineker as well. Always is. He always throws a million punches in there.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. That could be a fight of the night as well. That's a contender up there for fight of the night potential.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Oh, that is going to be so close.
That's a close, way closer.
We are in Brazil too. And the amount of punches they throw. Gosh, you know what? I'm going to switch it to Lineker, dirty split decision. I actually think at the end of it, even though we both pick Lineker decision, we're both going to be saying, I think Brian won that fight.
I agree, but it is in Brazil.
Oh, I could be changing that back and forth, so make sure you're following us at Twitter so you can get updated. Wow. Nope, I'm changing it back to Boom. Boom decision. That's crazy. It's crazy.
You get in.
People are thinking he's going to get picked apart or something.
This is unreal.
It just shouldn't be it shouldn't be such a big
the
gap.
roller coaster's getting to me.
Okay, here's what I'm doing.
Oh no.
Lineker decision, but this is what I'm telling people. I think Brian Kelleher is the most underrated guy on the freaking card, and for the money, easily the guy you put everywhere.
Wager gauger.
Yes, he's the wager gauger.
Know him as the wager gauger.
Thank you for getting that. I needed to give him something. Give me a belt. Do we have a bronze belt I can give him, UFC?
We know he's going to probably not get the win in here, but we know that he's not going to just get ran over where a lot of people expect him to get ran over, and it's a good call. I think I will play Kelleher a little bit more due to that value on DraftKings. On to Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Bobby Cooper, or ABC. I love me some Bobby Cooper. Everybody knows that. Everybody. This is a 6-0 fighter against a 3-3 fighter. If we've seen a setup fight in the UFC, this has all the hallmarks of it. A fighter who has specifically lost 2 submissions is going to Brazil to fight somebody who specifically wins via submission. And TKO ground and pound against Mackenzie Dern does have a good top game. Dern, though, at 25, this being her second fight in the UFC, I think a lot of people had even more hype on her and really were illusioned after they saw her win a split, dirty-ass split, that Yoder. And I would say that Bobby Cooper is a better Yoder standing, but worse on the ground than Yoder. So we're going to see a lot more of the same, if not an actual submission come through. Because Bobby Cooper is coming in with a few fights in the UFC already, she has 4 fights in a 3-3 career. So weird, huh? How that works out. She's ended up losing to Tatiana Suarez in a submission. Some of those fights being in the house, but she lost to Suarez submission Darce choke a year ago. Then she beat Emersal in a decision. Lost to Cynthia Cavillo in a submission a year ago, and then 5 months ago beat Magana TKO. You know how we feel about Magana here on the show. So, as I'm saying, I think that standing-wise, I can see Bobby Cooper winning a decision, but Dern is relentless on those takedowns, and even though she doesn't have good takedowns, she can let Bobby Cooper get on top of her, get the sweep, get the submission, ankle pick, or ankle
Dern's overrated.
whatever.
I agree.
I'm
over it.
But I'm going to go during submission because this is a set-up fight for me. It's submission round number 1 or 2 because Bobby Cooper doesn't have good takedown defense. And or this is a Niminari roll that you're going to see from Dern. It was on the embedded. She's going to try it.
Do you think Bobby Cooper knows this is a set-up fight, in quotes?
Yes. But so you want her to stay away, but she hasn't shown yet that she can.
And you think Yoder is better than Amanda Bobby Cooper anywhere?
Yeah,
How dare you? Yoder?
Sure.
I don't know. Magana could be Yoder.
Do you really believe that?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
I was trying to, when I picture when someone says, do you really believe that? I really picture somebody with a gun to my head. Do you really believe that? I don't know. I can't really say that I do.
Exactly.
I think Mackenzie Dern's overrated. I think Amanda Bobby Cooper has her stripes. I got Dern decision.
For 9,100, how much are you going to put Dern on your
I'm not putting
DraftKings?
Dern anywhere.
For 9,100. You're
anywhere,
crazy.
You guys. This could be the fight that Dern's found out.
If she does submit in the first or second round, because that's the
Here's
fight.
what I'm
that's
telling you.
Fight.
If Mackenzie Dern makes weight, Amanda Bobby Cooper, ABC wins this fight. Mackenzie Dern is not going to make weight. She's one of those sneaky-ass fighters that takes every edge, including faking an accent to be sexier.
It does work. She got some sexy Instagram shots. I'm just saying I had to do some research earlier.
I'm not into her so much.
Had to have a midnight shower after watching some...
If she cut her hair off, she looks a little like a duder, in my opinion.
I could see that. She's got a big smile. But I do love her pooter. I'm just saying.
Her pooter?
I got her in submission round number 2. Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared there. 9-1 though. Not going to be putting her too many places. I think you're onto something with Bobby
I don't
Cooper.
give a darn. IBC, I just think ABC's gotten better and better and better and better. And yeah, the Magana fight, I don't even want to put that in my head of how good she looked. Blah.
Stay away from that
decision.
fight. Stay away from that fight. It is not going to be kind to a lot of people. On to the co-main event, though. We have a 185-pound bout highlighted with Jacare El Cacadrillo Souza versus Kelvin Fahrenheit Gastelum. We are with two veterans of the sport. Kelvin definitely younger by 12 years, 38 years old for Souza. We know with a 25-5 record and all the accolades that Souza has, he has a heavy overhand right, heavy left hand, really swarms you to get you to the cage and good takedowns off of the cage. Souza, once he's on the ground, is a master of all levels. He's had trouble finding fights with a lot of the fighters as of late, but if we've seen anything, Robert Whittaker showed us how to beat Jacare Souza. Pressure, pressure, pressure. You got to beat him to the punch. And
who has pressure?
Not Derek Brunson, or does he? He's on roller skates, though.
Oh, no, I was just, because you
Kelvin Gastelum. Yeah, that makes sense.
A guy with gas in their name.
Gastelum can put pressure together well, is a counter striker, has given away fights. On the ground is where this scares me for Gastelum. He does have good takedown defense, but some has been comfortable giving up takedowns at times, and it showed in that Weidman fight. He was like, all right, Weidman, take me down. And Kelvin will give up his shoulder, his side, and his back a lot to do this fat man's roll, or it's a tuck roll where you grab the elbow, roll over, and then belly over. It was working really well for Gastelum a long, long time ago, but people have started to figure it out. Weidman showed exactly what you do when he grabs that arm. Double hip ride, and you're going to get a submission. So, Jacare can do all of that, but he has to take down Gastelum before that happens. Kelvin does have power in both hands and has actually sneaky uppercuts with a really good takedown defense. So, Kelvin has an avenue of winning this fight. This is a really, really close fight. Jacare being a little bit advanced in the age. People are saying he's chinny. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Souza's chin is held up incredibly well in a lot of his fights, and he's putting a good game plan together before come back in with that win 3 months ago. I had Souza earlier. I'm going to go with Kelvin. I'm going to be dick riding. We were talking about it earlier in the week, and everything about Kelvin, I like Strickland is right there in his corner. Strickland is a good guy to be working with, even though they're not Jacare level. I'm just thinking push has got to come to shove. If the steroids matter, if Souza looks like a robot, I'm going to have to probably switch the other way. But if he's looked like regular old Souza, there's avenues. Whittaker showed how to do that. What do you think goes down? I got Gastelum decision. Woo! I'm scared.
You know what sucks about looking at both these guys' last 5 fights? Neither of them has beat somebody who shouldn't be fighting anymore.
They're all top-notch fighters.
That's horrible for me to say. No, like... And they both beat dudes. Their only wins in their last 5 fights are guys that shouldn't be fighting anymore.
Oh, okay.
So it's really weird to look at. I don't, in my opinion, and I've gone back and forth on this, and I had Kelvin when you started talking, but the more I think about it, they're giving Kelvin this fight in hopes that he loses, so he'll go back down to 170.
He wants to go to 170. He came out and said, I want to go to 170. The UFC has said no, because he missed 3 weights cuts at 70.
Kelvin. I don't know if I like this fight for you. If Kelvin wins this fight, Souza, I will start calling him chinny. I don't think he's chinny yet. I think he has the longer reach. For some reason, Kelvin, if Chris Weidman can submit you, so can Souza.
Exactly, right?
I got Souza, submission round 2. I like Kelvin, and I liked him right up until this. I think this is a fight that should be like 8-4, 8-2 or something on DraftKings.
8,400 for Jacare Souza against 7,800 for Kelvin Gastelum. I'm going to put Gast on a couple things. I'm going to put Souza on a couple things.
Somebody's going to sleep in this fight. Somebody's
I
getting
could see
knocked
a
out.
decision. I could see Kelvin just getting on his bike. And this is a fun one, though. This is an exciting one. This could be also a fight of the night contender. The plus 120 underdog, Kelvin, against the minus 150 favorite, Jacare Souza. Can't wait for this
Kelvin,
one. I'm really
always
excited.
the sportsman, too. He'll get clapped still when he walks out of the ring. He's always a sportsman. After he gets knocked out, he'll hug Souza. Ugh. I don't like this fight for Kelvin, and he's one of my favorites. I've gone back and forth on a lot of this card. This one's
That's why it's a
weird
fun
card.
one.
Weird
this
card.
This is a fun one. To the main event, we finally made it. It took us 2 shows, but quality over quantity. We get in there with the main event. In the bantamweight division, we have returning, defending 15-4 Mata Leon against returning Raquel Pennington, having a 9-5 record, coming off of a 4-5 winning streak a year and 5 months ago. Raquel Pennington is coming back from a knee injury. I do believe Raquel had knee issues prior to this fight, but now that's got to be exacerbated tenfold. Interesting on the weight cut, I do think Raquel has a bit of trouble also getting there. Not that she's ever missed, but I do think she has a little bit of a tough time. Raquel tends to be the sprawl and brawl, good striking, power, has hurt tons and tons of women, has stopped multiple careers in the UFC. Amanda Mataleon also retired quite a few fighters. This is interesting in the background because we see both of these fighters were coming out of AT&T for a while, where Amanda Nunes and Raquel Pennington and Nina Asanoff and Tisha Torres have all been caught on double dinner dates, and they've all hung out, and they're going to go in there and make it a job as much as they possibly can.
Make it awkward.
Are we going to see one of those patented Andrade Tisha Torres moments?
I have another prediction about this, or not just about their friendship. I think their girls are better friends than them. When I was watching Rocky Pennington and her interview on The Embedded, I got a feeling that, yeah, like, Amanda's all right. Like, whatever. Like, the girls are friends, but this is a fight.
Yeah.
But, like, almost like their wives are friends.
Yeah, and the husbands are going to go fight it out.
Yes. I don't know if they're necessarily besties.
I would agree with that, but they definitely, like, they've sat down and talked.
Rocky's cute.
Many times.
Rocky Pennington's one of the cuter women.
Interesting.
She's not my style girl at all. But I just think her facial features.
And I would say Amanda Nunes is okay looking.
I think Amanda Nunes too. They're both a little butch for my style. I feel like I need WD-40 on my mic. It's so
a little
squeaky.
lube on the microphone.
Every time
We'll
I
talk
touch
about
it.
Amanda Nunes and Raquel Pennington.
I know.
But Rocky does have I would say they're both equally heavy-handed. We've seen both of these women hit people and people go, oh shit, that hurt a lot. The submission game, both women have submitted high-level competition. It's that injury that we haven't seen Raquel from her injury. And it was a pretty devastating injury. This does happen to a lot of fighters, and she's been in Colorado, she's at altitude, she has the right people around her to get her where she needs to be. Amanda Nunes also moved. Where'd she end up going to? Is she still at top team?
Yep.
Oh, right. So she's still using what has gotten her there. Defended multiple times, and I think, like I was saying before, earlier on in the night, Amanda Nunes has more of a piston, like Zaleski. She throws it more down the chamber, and it's very more traditional, where Raquel Pennington has power from everywhere, but can be a little sloppier at times. The gas tank, though, both of these women do slow down. I do think I would have to say with what I've seen is Raquel has a little bit better of a gas tank, but Leon knows how to pace herself now a bit more, especially with having the more 5-round fights now under her belt. This is closer than people have it. I don't think that this should be a minus 900 huge favorite by any means whatsoever. That's completely disgraceful. But like I'm saying, it's this injury. It was a she almost lost her leg. and is coming in to go 5 rounds.
Did she? I did not know it was that bad.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
It shattered her leg completely, and the doctors were like, you might not walk again. And she's like, I'll fight. And it's interesting how people with this state of mind usually come back and still perform at a high level, but it's still not 100%. It's going to be a high level, and she's going to stick around for a while. But I do think that push comes to shove, bullet to the head, I am going to easily go with Amanda Nunes. I think that everything's been working, and it's going to keep being more of the same, but it's too much money. She's not going to be on any one of my cards because you can't make any money off that, and Raquel has a shot. It's not a minus 900 shot, but I'd say it's 3-1. Nunes should be a 3-1, not a 9-1. That's crazy. Crazy.
I can see if her leg is as bad, maybe even a 4-1, maybe even if she's the champ. Rocky has more power. Amanda has a better ground game. I would say Amanda has better kicks. I think Rocky has the better hands here. I think Rocky also lays the body shots. You know, she has beat Holly by a decision. I think that is probably her highlight. Yeah. For Rocky Pennington is going the decision.
Oh, she lost that split decision.
Yeah, I know she lost. You know, some people think that Amanda Nunes lost her 2 fights against Valentina Shevchenko. But you have to beat the champ to be the champ. And that is the only reason I'm going with Nunes' decision here. I think Rocky's just not going to do enough to make it decisive enough to take a champ's belt. It's going to be questionable. I do think Rocky has more power than anyone Amanda Nunes has ever faced. But because Amanda Nunes did go the distance with Valentina Shevchenko, in my opinion, those are the best things Amanda Nunes has ever done. Yeah. Beating Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey were not just skill-wise her highlight. Yeah, going 5 rounds with Shevchenko. I
agree with that. 100%.
And shutting down Shevchenko enough, doing the right things enough to make Shevchenko, this is going to be the difference in this fight. Rocky Pennington is not going to be tentative like Shevchenko was. She is not going to not come in. So I think, I don't know. I don't love so much I wish it's there because there's nobody else in this division to give Amanda, and I think Rocky's forcing this fight on herself. She should be taking a warm-up fight before this. I do like her in the division. I think she has a little ways to go, though, just because Amanda has been to this dance again and again and again with way more eyes. So I got to go with Nunes. I do think she's only going to pull out a decision victory here, but maybe just 3 rounds to 2, like you're saying. I do think Rocky's going to pull out some rounds, but I do think both women throw enough punches. I don't know how the takedowns are going to be, maybe 1 or 2 apiece for the entire fight. I think 70 points apiece. Because it's 5 rounds, you're easily going to get 70 to 95 points apiece.
I think that's a good call. It could go to those. I do have Nunes' decision as well. For 9,500 on DraftKings for Nunes, it's steep. I do think that there might be more of an option for the finish for Nunes, because of her having a better ground game, but Pennington's not easy to take down. And she doesn't just give up submissions by any means. She has more of that wrestling anti-jiu-jitsu where she'll just get the position. She's not going to submit you, but she's also not going to be in a
I don't know how many of her last fights have been in there with ground people.
Aces, yeah.
This, I don't know what Amanda does in this division after this. So depending on how hard the weight cut is for her, I still think we could see her versus Cyborg.
I would love that because that's going to be actually one of the real contenders where Cyborg, not that she's had nothing.
And she better go up and fight Cyborg. Otherwise, all Valentina can think about is getting that 125 belt and fighting Amanda Nunes again.
Yep, that's exactly it. So Raquel for 6-7. Spotty. If it goes 5, she could be, again, in that wage gauge category, but I do think we have a better Kelleher wage gauge. Who's going to end up being our Leslie Smith underdog pick? I think we're going with Sean Strickland as well. Propane himself.
I like that. I like that there. We probably already have used Sean Strickland in the past as a Leslie Smith.
I think we have, and
underdog
he's cashed out as well. Same as Kelleher. We got a couple of the LaTB legends in there.
So good grief, this has been a Wednesday show.
This has been.
You got enough to listen to get through a whole bunch at work. So we hope it's an exciting fight night for you, and we will see you Sunday.
Let's go the beat.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.